Hello everyone, and in today's video we are going to be comparing countries. So basically, if you don't know how does it work, there's a site called Google Trend in which you can compare which country is more searched. You can choose in which country they are more searched, from how many years they're searched. Like right now, I have from 2004 to present, since it does not go behind 2004, I guess. So first of all, we are going now keep it in mind that the video is not meant to go politically in any way, or the video is not also tend to discriminate anyone. These are just facts, and keep in mind, and all the information is also found from Google. So I'm not making anything up. Now, with that in mind, now let's talk about Bulgaria and Romania. Now, red is Romania and blue is Bulgaria, and as you guys can probably see, for some reason Romania is more famous and more searched on Google than Bulgaria. As we can see, at its peak, it was during it was during June of 2015 at its peak, with a lot of people searching there for some reason, and also during this time when it was super famous. Now let's talk about country to country. Okay, so by Bulgaria, Bulgaria searches the most Bulgaria, with 97% of the population in Bulgaria searching Bulgaria, followed by Russia, Slovakia, Ukraine, and Turkey. Now I think it is reasonable since Slo- Russia, Slovakia, and Ukraine were all part of the Warsaw Pact, even though Russia and Ukraine were in the Soviet Union and Slovakia was part of Czechoslovakia. Turkey maybe searches them since Turkey fought with them during the Second Balkan War and because they also borrowed them. So now let's talk about Romania. Okay, so Romania searches the most Romania with 96% of the population searching Romania and 4% Bulgaria, followed by Moldova, Italy, Spain, and Algeria. I'm not sure about Spain and Algeria, but Moldova borders Romania and it is the only Latin speaking language, and with Romania, it is the only Latin spoken language with people claiming to be Orthodox. Romania and Moldova are the only one. And then Italy, I guess, because there are a lot of Romanians in Italy, so I think that's the case maybe. So now let's talk and just in case you didn't know where was them, this is Romania bordering Moldova here, and this is Bulgaria bordering Turkey here. As you can see, they are all in Eastern Europe. So now let's compare France and Spain. So as you can see, France is blue and Spain is red. And as you can see, France has always been more popular than Spain from the starting, but nowadays they are mostly mixed because France is not as popular as it once used to be, as you guys can probably see, while Spain is how it used to be. Like it has not declined a lot, but it has also not increased a lot. So as you guys can see, sometimes they had the similar stats like this time and this time. I think this is also because, well, France has declined its popularity due to COVID-19. I think since France was once the most visited country in the world, but due to sudden lockdowns, I think that a lot of people search this jam. Same also goes for the Spain. Now, in terms of France, France searches the most France with 89% population searching them, followed by Canada, Algeria, Vietnam, and South Africa. Now, I'm not sure about South Africa, but I do know that Vietnam, Algeria were both French colonies, and Algeria was its own colony of France, while Vietnam was part of the Indochina colony of France. While Canada also searches them because in the province of Quebec, the majority population are French, and France also colonized Canada but lost it during the Seven Years' War. So now let's talk about Spain. So as you can see, Spain searches the most Spain with 87% of population searching it, followed by Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia, all of them being South American countries. And I do know why, because of course Spain. So of course, Spanish people are gonna search Spain, and of course, both all Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia were all colonized by Spain. So that is maybe the reason why they are so searched. In case you didn't know, this is Spain. This is France in green, and this is Spain in orange, I guess. Okay, so now let's search Belgium and Netherlands. So as you guys can probably see, Netherlands is more famous than Belgium, but there has been of course upsides and downs. Like Netherlands has this time when they got super famous, and they also got this time and this time where Belgium got too famous, and this also the information that Netherlands is more famous right now, but the values for this point have partial incomplete data available. So keep this in mind that the new data has been incomplete for Netherlands. But even though this is the case, both of them had a lot of times where they were very similar, like these times where they were very similar. Now let's talk about country to country. In terms of Belgium, Belgium searches the most Belgium with 85% of the population searching it, followed by France, Morocco, Poland, and Philippines. I'm not sure about Morocco, Poland, and Philippines, but I do know that that French is the most spoken language in Belgium, and Dutch is the second most spoken language. And also Brussels, which is the capital of Belgium, is actually Duolingo, but still a lot of people still prefer French. So now let's talk about the Netherlands. In terms of the Netherlands, Indonesia surprisingly searches the most of Netherlands, which is 90%, followed by Netherlands at 88%, Vietnam at 82%, Germany 74%, Iran at 71%. I'm not sure why Indonesia searches it the most, but I think like sometimes it glitches out on Google searches. On Google, for instance, I searched it before recording the video and it said that Spain. That I'm not sure, but I think it was Morocco who said that Morocco was more searched Spain. But when I start recording the video, the data changed. So keep in mind that sometimes the information also glitches since it's Google. I'm not sure about Vietnam and Iran and Indonesia, but I definitely know that in Germany you speak German, while Netherlands you speak mostly Dutch. And Dutch and German are both very similar, so I think that's the case. And we should also not forget that Netherlands borders Germany, while France borders Belgium, so that can also be the case. But as you can see, even though they had very similar stats as upside with Belgium and Netherlands, even though Netherlands was more popular, this size were more they had similar stats. But to overall in the world, a lot of the countries searches Netherlands. The only country that searches Belgium are all European except Morocco. In case you didn't know, this is Netherlands and this is Belgium. Now when you see overall Europe's map, they may seem small and they are actually small in size, but their culture is all spread out Europe. Like how Netherlands has Amsterdam and how Belgium has I forgot their capital name. Oh my gosh. Has Brussels, and as we all know, Brussels is a very important city for overall European Union. Now let's talk about Ukraine and Belarus. Now Ukraine and Belarus are two bordering countries which not a lot of people talk about. Like everyone talk about like Lithuania and Belarus, how they were once part of a single country, and everyone talks about Ukraine and Russia, but no one really talks about Ukraine and Belarus. So now let's talk about them. So as you can see, both of them are not like really popular from this chart, as we can probably see. But overall, of course, Ukraine is way more popular than Belarus, since a lot of people don't even know if Belarus is a country. And even though this has slightly changed nowadays, especially since I'm recording this video in June. Keep in mind that I'm recording this video in June. So data would have changed a little bit or a lot, but I'm sure it would not have changed a lot. But you can always do your research. So as you can see during this time, oh, during this time, Ukraine got way more popular during March 2014. I think this is mostly due to the Crimean annexation of Crimea. That was mostly because Russia annexed Crimea at that month. I'm not sure about that. And Belarus mostly got popular this time for some reason, August 2020. I'm not sure what happened at that time. Overall, Ukraine is mostly searching Ukraine, of course, with 99% of the population searching Ukraine, followed by Moldova, Vietnam, Canada, Portugal, and for Belarus. Belarus is mostly searching Belarus, of course, with 94% of the population searching it, followed by Lithuania with 45%. So as we can see, blue is represented with Ukraine and red is represented by Belarus. And Belarus is the only red country. Lithuania is very close, but for this mapping to have more than 50%. And Belarus is still 45%, as you can see probably. And also, a lot of countries doesn't give their a lot of stats for some reason. So keep in mind that a lot of the countries, especially African countries, have not given their stats. So it might be that people more search Belarus, even though I'm not sure since of course Ukraine is more popular. But keep in mind I'm not from Ukraine, I'm not from Belarus, so this is unbiased, of course. I'm not from either of these two countries. So as we can see, Ukraine is overall more big than Belarus. In case you didn't know, the orange one is Ukraine and the green one is Belarus. Now Lithuania mostly searches Belarus mostly because they border them, and Moldova mostly searches them mostly because they border them. Well, of course, both of them were part of the Soviet Union. Belarus was its own republic with Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic, and Ukraine was also its own republic, Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Okay, so now let's talk about Asian countries, but more specifically Malaysia and Indonesia. Now, as we can see, Malaysia was actually a little bit more popular during the 2004 era, but even though that the difference was not like a lot, but Malaysia was more popular. But of course, this time but of course, during the summer 2004, Indonesia was just a little bit more popular then. And then as you can see, the bar graph is so starting to change dramatically, with Indonesia every year getting more popular. As you can see nowadays, this is the information June 2021 with Malaysia 33 points and Indonesia 88 points. Value for this point have false or incomplete data available. So keep in mind the area which shows these dots, it is the data is incomplete there. As you can see this time during March 2014, Malaysia actually beat Indonesia of searching for some reason. I'm not sure what happened at that time. But now let's talk about country to country. Overall, Malaysia is mostly searching Malaysia, of course, with with 92% of the population searching it, followed by Pakistan, Thailand, Singapore, Brunei. Brunei and Singapore, I think why? Mostly because Brunei borders Malaysia, like do Singapore, and like do Thailand. I'm not sure about Pakistan. Actually, they don't border them, as we can see here. They are here, but I'm not sure why they search them. And Indonesia of course it's the most Indonesia with 97% of the population searching Indonesia, followed by Netherlands, Brazil, the United States, and France. None of them actually bother Indonesia. The only thing is that Netherlands I think searches them since Netherlands actually colonized Indonesia. Otherwise, I'm not sure why Brazil, United States, and France search them. I think they have just a lot of curious people with there. I'm sure. as we can see here, this is Indonesia and this is Malaysia. I think that maybe explains the reason why Indonesia was searched, since of course they are way more bigger than Malaysia, and I think they have cities like Bali, which are very famous. Don't get me wrong, the capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, is also quite underrated. That's what I know, since some YouTubers with videos in Kuala Lumpur, and it's very clean and it has a lot of skyscrapers. Now let's talk about the last country in today's video, Switzerland and Austria. Now as we can see, Switzerland has always been more popular than Austria, but for some reason during this time of March 2020, a lot of people searched Switzerland and Austria. Nowadays, the inequality is getting worse since Switzerland is becoming way more popular. Like at this time, they were very close. Last year, they were very close. But now Switzerland is getting more and more famous than Austria. Now let's talk about country to country. Of course, Switzerland searches the most Switzerland with 98% of the population searching Switzerland, followed by France with 5%. I think that's because France borders Switzerland, followed by Vietnam, Portugal, and Singapore. And for Austria, Austria searches the most Austria, of course, with 94% of population searching Austria, followed by Slovakia, Hungary, Czechia, and Croatia. I think I all know because why they search them, because Slovakia, Hungary, Czechia, and Croatia were all part of Austrian Empire and later Austria-Hungarian Empire. So that maybe explains the reason why. That's maybe a historical reason why. So as you can see in this picture, Austria is in green while Switzerland is mostly in orange. Actually, it's all orange, and I think that explains since Switzerland mostly all borders France in here, while Austria borders Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary. All the top three countries searching them, and it's very close to Croatia. And now let's talk about their size. So keep in mind that not every country's size, like size not always matter when you search in a country. And this is a real example. Like Switzerland was more searched than Austria, even though Switzerland has an area of 41,041, while Austria is 83, which means that Austria is nearly more than double the size of Switzerland, but still they are less searched. So this can also explain that size should not always matter, like we have seen in the population. Like Russia is the biggest country in the world, but they are not even the top 5 most populous countries. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, if you like the video then please hit the like button, share it with your friends, and I will see you in the next video.